Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Game Changer. I'm Mariam Zia. Tonight we will unravel the interplay between public discontent, Modi's policies and the looming elections in India. Of course, when we talk about India, we know that more than two-thirds of its 1.4 billion people depend on agriculture for their livelihoods, and over 250 farmers unions are protesting in India today, and these protests are all happening in the backdrop of upcoming elections in India, where of course Modi's BJP is eyeing third successive term in office. And when we talk about the anticipation regarding this third term in office, we see that hate is anticipated to be unleashed in India. Communal violence is supposed and of course expected to be unleashed in India, of course based on the previous markers of Modi's government. In today's program, we will be talking about all these dynamics, the protests that are of course unfolding in India, as well as looming elections in India, and how this political discourse is going to be shaping not only India but also the neighboring countries and of course the democracies at large. To discuss this and more, we're joined in the studios by Mr. Khalid Taimur Akram, who is expert in international affairs. Welcome to the program. We're also joined by Dr. Bakir Malik, who is expert in international affairs. Welcome to the program. Of course, Mr. Taimur, when we talk about these recent protests, we witnessed these protests happening 2 years back as well, and of course these are all in the backdrop of 2019 and 2016 policies of Modi. How do you see these protests at this point in time, which is very critical, keeping in mind Indian elections are going to be unfolding? How do you see all this context and this situation happening at this point in time?
Yeah, first of all, let me tell you one thing, that these protests are not new, and these protests are happening since last couple of years, and we have seen even in 2019 and before that, as you said, in 2016 also. And at that time the Modi government had made certain promises with the farmers which were never fulfilled. Somehow Prime Minister Modi is convinced that it is the IT and the other industries which are going to take India forward. So agriculture has always been his backbench priority, and he has not been listening to the farmers. But he forgets one thing, that a large population of the Indian government and Indian country, India as a country, depends on farming. Farming has always been, even in the subcontinent, as we know that in India and Pakistan, farming and agriculture used to be the top priority. But in last 15 years, in 10-15 years, we have seen in India, they have been making a lot of money from the IT sector, they have been making a lot of money from the industrial sector, and Prime Minister Modi, his main vote bank or his main financiers are from the industrial sector. So he has not been giving that much importance to the agriculture. But now, as the elections are coming forward, and we have seen that the demands of the farmers are not fulfilling, so I think now he has to think over it. But over here, I would like to add one thing, that first we have to see what the farmers are asking. They are only asking for a minimum support price. And
can you elaborate on these of course demands, or key demands made by these farmers, including of course the price equity?
Yeah, they have basically 4 or 5 big demands. Minimum support price, because India is a vast country, and in some areas they have drought also. They have sometimes there is a flood season also. So one, they are asking for the minimum support price. Second, they are asking because in India the banks are taking too much of interest from the farmers, so they are asking to waive off their interest which is on their loans. They are also asking,
because farmers are debt ridden.
Yes,
of
they
course,
are.
And that is leading to suicides in farmers in India. That's a huge crisis.
That's a very big crisis in India. And also they are asking for the compensation of for their fellow farmers who have been protesting and dying for the rights of the farmers in the past also. And they are also asking for some subsidy on the electricity and these kinds of things. But these are all very, I would say, logical demands which they have. But somehow, as I said, that the Indian government is bent upon favoring the industrialists and the IT sector and not the farmers. And at the same time, India forgets this thing that right now they are the most populous country in the world. The population of India right now has even exceeded the population of China, and food security is going to become a major problem for India in days to come.
Right. So, of course, these protests are expanding and amplifying with the passage of time. How do you see, Dr. Bakir, the role of social media in these protests, given that Modi has been, of course, shutting down certain accounts linked to these farmers' unions and other activists? And do you think that social media has also played an important role in, of course, building the narrative surrounding these protests and Modi's policies?
Thank you so much. I think it's not the matter of the social media. When Modi took a government or when he came to a power, you know, not only is basically threatening to the opposition party or other parties, and even you have seen the worst censorship of the traditional media, because before that, even you see that Doordarshan always arranged a debate between opposition party and the government. So you have not seen such kind of debate in a traditional media like this, and even NDTV that was purchased by his right man, what we call Gautam Adani. So he is trying to control all kind of media, but social media is something different, a new paradigm. It's basically not easy for the Modi government to control like this. For example, if you see in this farmer protest or demands, they have a 12 total demands, and according to this, 11 are rationally doable. But if you see that there is a one demand that basically government is also trying to catch, that this protester wanted to withdraw from the WTO and also want to freeze the free trade agreement. So that's where all debate in the traditional media is basically taking place by highlighting this only one demand, that these are the irrational demands. But on the other side, you have seen in social media, it's not only the youth of the India are more active, and they are highlighting the demand or the basic purpose of this protest, or why Modi is basically using a violence against the protest, because it is the age of the social media. Before that, Modi had...
I want you to comment on the role of course, youth that you mentioned about, that of course the students are of course playing an important role in amplifying the voices of farmers, as well as of course the longevity of the protests we have witnessed, that is also being impacted by young voters of India. Do you think that is going to be a key factor in, of course, maybe changing the dynamics of Indian political landscape?
Exactly, 100%. You have seen the recent Chandigarh municipal election, where this Aam Aadmi Party and this Congress, they were in alliance, and they were having a total candidate of 20 out of 25. So what they have done by the Modi government, that even if the CCTV camera, they have captured that how the presiding officer was involved in a rigging and how he has rejected. So even this media is projecting that Modi is a true leader of the India, and he is the reformist or like this, but still they have not diverted the mind of the youth. So this is the problem, why Modi is basically using this kind of tactics to stop the protester or like this. But because social media is just not like that, they are running in the India. It's basically covering all over the world. And even you have seen the social activists or environmental activists, they are fully supporting to this farmer protest. So for the Modi, it is impossible, it is very difficult to divert the mind, or even they can say that how basically Modi will convince the youth that our policy is basically a friendly policy. And you have seen in social media, that is a very important thing, what we call the Modi detergent, or like a surf excel. It is showing that how Modi is basically using like this all these opposition party. If you are an opposition party, you will be prepared for the different charges. because Modi is not only using the media but also their security agency. For example, the CBI and ED, they are completely using against the opposition party. So when these opposition leaders join to the BJP, they are clean. So that's why they are on one side they are trying to basically this maximize their power by using the traditional tactics. On the other side, they are trying to convince the youth, okay, this is the age of the IT.
Right.
So for this, the farmer protest is nothing just to destabilize our country.
Right, of course, and these are important issues. But Mr. Khalid, when we look at this significant amount of farmers' unions that are, of course, protesting in India for days now, do you think that these farmers are an influential bloc within India, and are they going to be impacting elections where, of course, Modi is eyeing that he is going to be becoming the next PM, and even BJP is also looking at 50 plus years of ruling within India? Do you think that at this critical point in time in India, this voters bloc of farmers is going to be having any influence?
Yes, that's a very interesting question you have asked, because last time what happened was that similar kind of protests were happening, and farmers and the rural population of India is still much more than the urban population, and all those people associated with agriculture, they have lot of vote bank, and 250 organizations, the farmer organizations are protesting.
But do you think on ground these organizations, these unions, these farmers vote bank is going to be presenting a political challenge for Modi, especially in states like northern Haryana and Punjab?
No, I don't think that they will pose any kind of problem for Modi, because as you know that in Pakistan and India, in this subcontinent, the votes are given on brotherly system, the votes are given on the complete village decide that whom they have to give the vote. And I'm sure that you will see within next a few weeks, the Indian government is going to announce some kind of package for the farmers, and they are going to lure them in again, making those false promises for getting the votes. Because BJP right now feels themselves as very, very strong. They have a very strong support of NRI, non-resident Indians. They have a very strong support of the industrial community. They have a very strong support of all the segments of the society. And they feel that if they will agree to few of the demands of the farmers, they are going to woo them in for the before the elections. And I'm sure that BJP has some kind of strategy to accept few of the demands before the election, and then again after the elections not to fulfill those demands.
Do you think that at this point in time regional parties are not going to be having any influence, or when we talk about the alliance of opposition parties, that is India, is not going to be having an influence in the election results?
No. Right now if we see the other party, Congress party, they are also not in that position to start countrywide agitations. In last 10 years we have seen BJP going down to the street level and gaining support of local public. Yes, the BJP now after 10 years, the agenda of BJP is very visible, that Muslims and Christians and all other people living in India, they feel very, very unsafe. And the only effect which can be done in these elections is going to be that if the regional parties and if the Muslim parties and Christian parties and the people of the other religion and low caste Hindus, if they get together, then they can pose some kind of threat to BJP. But as I had told you earlier that Mr. Modi is looking at a lot of funding from the industrialists, from the IT people, from the non-resident Indians, and I'm sure that the election manifesto which you are going to see, which they are going to announce, the BJP is going to announce very soon, it will have some kind of olive branch to the Muslims, to Christians, and to other things, because this is how they have been operating in the past. They have been offering some kind of olive branch to the other religions and to the
Right.
minorities, and after the elections they just forget about it and then they go on the other agendas.
Right, very important point. Dr. Bakir, what's your take on this? That do you think that BJP is actually going to be presenting olive branch to other, of course, communities, keeping in mind that, of course, Modi's strategies, BJP's policies have largely been based on Hindutva, and of course that is mainly they have been catering to Hindi belt as well. So how do you see this unfolding in the recent polls?
I think it's just not like that. As Sar is saying, on one side, traditional voter, Modi is basically using something a traditional tactics. For example, as he is mentioning that some industrial is basically funding to the BJP. Maybe you have not seen the report of the Amnesty International, where they have complained to the FATF that Modi is basically threatening all these companies. If they are not providing the funds to the BJP, then these companies may be in a blacklist, or even they are having some strict action against the BJP. So on the one side, basically Modi is getting the funds from the company by using a blackmail tactics, or even on the other side you have seen these are different leaders, opposition leader. Why they have joined? Because it is Modi is using by the ED and even CBI against these opposition leaders. So once they will join to the Modi and they are clean, so they are enjoying the government. So it is very difficult for a Modi to convince the youth. Even Modi has done some tremendous step to promote the IT, and even the IT sector is one of the most booming sector in the India. But still it is very difficult to reach the youth, particularly they are living in the rural area sites. So they are mostly depending on the agriculture sector. So the reason is that currently it looks like that Modi has no challenge from the opposition party. But this is a debate that is basically conducted in the Indian media. All these media is basically controlled by the government through the security agencies, through this political party.
Right, but Dr. Bakir, of course, Modi might not be having any significant opposition from, of course, the opposition in the House. But when we look at Modi's policies and strategies, like Uniform Civil Code and other policies that are, of course, targeting Muslims, do you think that is going to be having any implications for BJP's and, of course, Modi's image?
Yeah, absolutely. It's because Modi extremist policy is just not only basically, you have seen the different these social activists are like why they are raising against the Modi policies, because they believe that this India is not only for the Hindu. India means for all community that they are living in the Indian. So why basically Modi having some kind of extremist policy? Because the Modi majority voter bank is from this Hindu community. This is basically. So funding is from this community, and even they are controlling the electoral process through this extremist wing. That was, a report was published in 2 weeks ago in a Hindustan Time that in Assam, EVM machine was basically captured from the BJP leader. He was taking it into court. So you can imagine how this basically Modi is controlling all this electoral process. So if the electoral process is not going to be smoothly, then you need to other tactics to basically convince the voter, or use to a rigging process or like this. But it's not like that, or Modi is basically enjoying the full support from the India. It's, you can say, a 10% of the community who are enjoying the privilege from this government, are basically getting the benefit, or they are part of this status quo. But rest of the Indian community, they are basically, they have something like a different opinion what basically Indian media is projecting for this Modi, how Modi has basically used the policy, or if Modi will win the election, what will be its impact on Indian economy. So Indian media is basically projecting another different story that we have seen on a ground reality.
Of course.
And a ground reality, even not that the Human Rights Watch organization, Amnesty International, different other organization, they have raised their concern about the Modi steps. On this, basically, on one side, Modi is saying that there is a zero tolerance against the corruption. But on the other side, the company that are not supporting the BJP, they are in a blacklist. They are basically, so there is a clear human rights violation against this.
Right.
So Modi is basically, because in a 2019, Modi was using the Pulwama actions, Pulwama operation against this election. He was cashing, he used to cash this situation to attract the voter. But this time, social media play its role. So for the Modi, it's not possible to basically launch such kind of action or like this. So for them, this is okay, if this protest is going to be, so why not use this protest to win the election or to win the sympathy of the people against that?
Right, but there's a list of course, controversial policies when we look at BJP's past record, and that is one of key elements is, of course, revocation of special status of Jammu and Kashmir, as well as in the recent days, of course, we have witnessed unveiling of Ram Mandir and other, of course, controversial measures like changing the text of their school books as well. How do you see that these fit into, of course, broader policies and broader strategies of BJP of converting or transforming India into a Hindu-only country, and of course eroding that image of a secular India and of course the secular democracy of the world?
Yes, that secular democracy model or image, they have already eroded it, and it is now, it has become an all Hindu state, and yes, you are right that these are those mayas which you have just said, these are those mayas which they are going to use in their election campaigning. Yes, we have seen the abrogation of Article 35 and 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, but ever since then we have seen that the Indian government has taken a very firm stance on that. Although Pakistan has been going out to European Union and United Nations and to all the international organizations, but they have not been able to persuade Mr. Modi to take the decision back. And likewise, we are seeing the making of the Ram Mandir at the place of Babri Mosque, and similar other kind of measures which the Modi government is taking to appease the Hindu community. And on the other hand, they are not only appeasing the Hindu community, but on the other hand, they are trying to have all the tactics against Muslims and all other religions. Right now, what India faces is lack of leadership because Modi feels that there is no political leader of the national stature who can challenge him. And this is one of the very major voids right now in the Indian political scenario, and he feels that he can very easily win the next election.
And what is the reason behind this lack of leadership? Do you think that these, of course, one of the factors might be that Modi is using investigative agencies, government agencies to, of course, target any opposition, any dissent against the government?
Yes, as Dr. Saab has already said this thing, that Modi is very effectively using all the government agencies, including CBI and tax agencies and other agencies, to target the politicians. And since this is the second tenure of the BJP which is going to come in end, so in last 10 years BJP has targeted almost every big politician, almost every political party in the country. And we have seen and also at the same time we are seeing the decline of the Congress, because in Congress also there is a leadership crisis going on, because people of India would feel that it is only Congress which can play an influential role against BJP. The rest, they have their regional parties. But since last few years, BJP itself and the Indian government also, they have been targeting all those politicians who are not on their side. And whether
what about parliamentary scrutiny, of course, and of course accountability of these tactics?
No, there is no accountability, because right now it is BJP and the Indian government is being run like an authoritative regime. Right now, it can be compared to any authoritative regime where only one person is making the decisions. On the face of it, we can call it it's a democracy, just to show to the world they have the Lok Sabha, they have all the people. As we say, their president only comes to greet the foreign leaders, but she has no say over any of the government policies. Even the ministers, if we see, they only speak that language which Mr. Modi wants them to speak, whether there be foreign minister or their internal minister or their national security advisor. They all are on one grid, and the one grid is this, that India belongs to Hindus and it is becoming an Hindu state. So now here comes the role of the international community. I am very surprised that why United Nations and why European Union and why all these international organizations are quiet. Why aren't they taking why aren't they taking Mr. Modi and talking to him that what is he doing?
Right, and let me take this question to Dr. Bakir. Dr. Bakir, how do you see this response by international community? Of course, we are witnessing Amnesty International, Freedom House reports that are, of course, indicating the concerns regarding, of course, fascism and, of course, the tactics that is being used by Modi government. But what kind of measures should be taken by the international community, and what is the reason, in your opinion, behind this silence by, of course, leaders?
Basically, the international community built its image, what national media is projecting or saying about this. So you have seen more than 90-95% media is directly part of the government. So there is a few, that is a print media, that you can say they can report
so
something like that.
independent reporting is also not allowed.
Exactly. So what is basically think that this international community built its perception from their media. Secondly, the reports from the diplomat, and most of the, in a Modi government, they have some strict, these non-governmental officials will not meet to the diplomat or like this. So mostly these diplomats are engaged with the government, Modi government. So that's where one thing is that the international community perception is that what Modi is doing is basically for the welfare of the society or welfare for the India. But the picture is totally different. So sometimes they react like this, what they are saying on a social media. But from the this 1 year, this Indian government is also trying to control the social media. But because social media is something different entity as compared to the traditional media, so they are unable to fully control the social media. So on the basis of these
they are banning certain accounts, of course pushing
exactly.
X as well to, of course, ban certain accounts who are, of course, raising their voices regarding these controversial policies. But that is not the only issue. Of course, the unemployment rate, as well as, of course, the issues of healthcare, these recent protests that shows, of course, there is agriculture or food security crisis unfolding in India. Do you think that these factors are going to be taken into account by the voters, and why do you think these are not, of course, highlighted when we look at Indian media for that matter?
Yeah, as far as Indian media is concerned, it is totally now a controlled media. It is not a free media. All the big media house owners, they are somehow connected now with BJP, and they only show that so-called shining India to the world which they want to show. As far as the issues in India are concerned, I think that issues which you have just spoken, the situation is much more grave. Right now, in majority of the Indian states, there is independent movements are going on. We have just seen the Khalistan movement people, they have had a referendum, and in which they had overwhelmingly said that they want to leave India and they want to have an independent states. So whether it be health issues, whether it is agriculture issue, whether it is population explosion, whether it is having some kind of dichotomy of the rules and powers and in India, the things are really very, very bad. But somehow, since India is now gained much more confidence in the social media and on the media. The things which are shown to the world, they are entirely different. They show that it's just shining India, which Mr. Modi wants to show, and he goes around the world, meets the world leaders and tell them. But within India, the people, more and more people are going down the poverty line. Yes, the next elections can be a game changer if there are free and fair elections, which under the Modi regime, it is not possible that they will have some kind of free and fair elections. Once the election time will come, we will see that how they are going to to have their own candidates, how they are going to treat the opposition candidates, and how what sort of rigging they are going to do.
Of course, because we see a lot of infighting among this India alliance as well. So, of course, what do you see that? How do you see this is going to be impacting the future of India's secular fiber, or if BJP comes into government?
Because BJP is not like that. If BJP come in power, we see that there is a secular India. It's not like BJP has actually completely changed the image of the India. So it's not like that we can say a democratic country, secular country, or like this. It's, you can say, an authoritarian government. So what Modi policy is basically reflecting is like that India is no more democratic country. India is no more secular country. Yes, in documents we can say that India is a secular country or a democratic, but practically India is no more document. It's basically moving to, it is authoritarian country.
Right.
So what even you have seen this Modi government even have changed the legislation. Before that, if you are going to for the selection of the chief election commissioner, you need to have opposition leader, prime minister, and the Chief Justice of India. Now the Modi government has changed this law, and according to two government official and one is the opposition leader. So what is basically Modi is trying like that, if it is not possible to win the election by the free and fair election, then use the another tactics like this.
Of course, and the
So
Supreme Court,
that's
media, everything is
yeah.
of course under Modi's control. Thank you very much, Dr. Bakir Malik, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid Taimur Akram, for joining us in today's program. Of course, we will be covering this issue in our upcoming shows as well, when we talk about protests in India and of course Modi's controversial policies that are going to be changing the social fabric and of course maybe international image of India as a secular country and democracy. We will be talking about it in our upcoming programs as well. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.